The warning. The Galactic Hegemony's central command vessel, Eternal Dominion, drifted silently through the void, its massive hull eclipsing the distant star systems behind it. On the observation deck, General Xorath Thrax stood with his 4 arms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the starlight as he gazed at the holographic display of a small blue planet. Earth, so insignificant, yet so troubling to his mind. His secondary eyes blinked slowly while his primary pair remained fixed on the hologram. After 40 cycles as the hegemony's most decorated military strategist, Thrax had learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts were screaming danger. "General, the War Council awaits your presence," announced his aide, Lieutenant Kraz, from the doorway. Thrax nodded without turning. "I'll be there momentarily." As Lieutenant Kraz departed, Thrax spoke a quiet command. "Computer, retrieve human military history compilation. Authorization Thrax Omega-7." The hologram of Earth disappeared, replaced by a rapid sequence of images. Ancient human warriors with primitive weapons, soldiers in uniform formations, tanks rolling across landscapes, mushroom clouds rising over devastated cities, orbital platforms deploying precision strikes. The progression of human warfare over mere centuries was disturbing. "Computer, halt display." The image froze on a document titled "The Art of War" by Sun Tzu. Thrax sighed deeply. He had spent the last 5 cycles studying humanity since their first contact with the hegemony. What he discovered had left him deeply unsettled. The hegemony's supreme commander Dorvan and the Council saw only a primitive species occupying valuable territory in a strategically important system. They saw an opportunity to conscript the humans into their ongoing war with the Nexus Alliance. But Thrax saw something else entirely. The council chamber buzzed with the voices of 23 species as Thrax entered. The massive circular room fell silent as the doors sealed behind him. Supreme Commander Dorvan sat elevated at the center, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. "General Thrax, you've kept us waiting." Dorvan's voice resonated through the chamber. "We are eager to begin the integration of Earth into our defensive perimeter." Integration, a polite euphemism for forced conscription. Thrax approached the central platform. "Supreme Commander, honorable council members, I come before you today to urge caution regarding the human species." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Supreme Commander Dorvan's bioluminescent patches flashed with annoyance. "Caution. The matter has been decided, General. Earth sits at a critical junction between our space and Nexus territory. We cannot allow it to remain unaligned." Thrax raised one of his 4 hands. "I understand the strategic importance, Commander, but we must reconsider our approach. Forcible incorporation of humanity into the hegemony would be a grave mistake." "Explain yourself, General," demanded Councillor Vrax of the Taurian Collective, her tentacles writhing with curiosity. Thrax gestured, and the chamber's central hologram activated, displaying Earth once more. Humanity appears unremarkable at first glance. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. They have barely ventured beyond their own moon. Their societies remain fractured into nation-states. By all conventional metrics, they should pose no challenge to the hegemony. "Then what is your concern?" Dorvan asked impatiently. "It is precisely what makes them unconventional that concerns me," Thrax replied. "I have studied their history extensively. Humans possess unique characteristics I have never observed in any species across our 1,000-world empire." Thrax began to circle the hologram, his voice steady and measured. "First, humans are adaptable beyond anything we've encountered. They inhabit environments ranging from Arctic tundra to equatorial deserts using minimal technology. Second, they demonstrate remarkable ingenuity under pressure. When faced with limitations, they innovate at rates that defy prediction models." Councillor Zerl scoffed. "These are exaggerations. All species adapt and innovate." "Not like humans," Thrax countered. "But most concerning is their approach to warfare. The hologram shifted to display human combat tactics throughout history. Humans have never unified their planet, yet they have developed more diverse methods of warfare than the combined military histories of every species in this room. They have mastered asymmetric combat, guerrilla tactics, psychological warfare, and nuclear deterrence within a single millennium of technological development. Frex continued, his voice growing urgent, and they are united by adversity. Throughout their history, when faced with external threats, their internal conflicts are rapidly abandoned in favor of cooperative defense. Supreme Commander Dorvan's patience was clearly wearing thin. What is your point, General? That we should fear these primitives. My point, Commander, is that we should not underestimate them. Frex stood tall. Our standard protocol of intimidation display, followed by limited orbital strikes to force compliance, will not work with humans. It will unify them against us, and once unified, they will not stop until they achieve total victory. The chamber erupted in laughter. Admiral Kresh, commander of the Hegemony's Third Fleet, spoke through his translator. General Thrax, your distinguished career has perhaps made you overly cautious. These humans have no fleet, no planetary defenses beyond rudimentary satellites, and primitive weapons. Their conquest would be trivial. Thrax remained unmoved. The assumption that their apparent weakness represents their true capability would be our first mistake. Dorvan rose from his command chair, towering over the assembly. General Thrax, while your caution is noted, the decision has been made. The Nexus Alliance advances along 3 sectors. We need the resources and strategic position Earth provides. Then at least approach them with diplomacy. Thrax urged. Offer genuine alliance rather than subjugation. We offered them the opportunity to join willingly 6 lunar cycles ago, Dorvan replied coldly. They declined. Thrax felt his secondary hearts sink. And now you plan to force them. The Third Fleet departs for Earth tomorrow, Dorvan confirmed. They will be given one final opportunity to join peacefully before we demonstrate our resolve. Thrax knew further argument was futile. The hegemony had existed for 8,000 years, conquering or absorbing all species it encountered. Such success bred absolute confidence and vulnerability to the unexpected. Then I formally request to accompany the fleet, Thrax said. If we are to engage with humanity, my expertise may prove valuable. Dorvan considered this request briefly before nodding. Granted. But understand, General, this operation will proceed regardless of your concerns. As the council session ended, Thrax returned to his quarters. He activated his secure terminal and began recording a private log. It appears war with humanity is inevitable. The Council has dismissed my warnings as excessive caution. Perhaps they are right. Perhaps I have misinterpreted human history and capabilities. He paused, watching the Earth's rotation in the hologram before him. But I fear I have not. I fear we are about to awaken something we do not understand. The following day, Thrax boarded the flagship of the Third Fleet, the dreadnought Invincible Dominion. As the massive vessel entered hyperspace along with 50 capital ships and 200 support craft, Thrax stood on the bridge beside Admiral Kresh. You still believe we are making a mistake, Kresh observed, not a question but a statement. I believe we are underestimating our opponent, Thrax replied carefully. A mistake no military commander should ever make. Kresh made a dismissive gesture with his upper limbs. These humans will kneel before our power, as all species eventually do. Thrax remained silent, knowing that words would no longer make a difference. Soon, the hegemony would learn whether his warnings were justified. He suspected the lesson would be painful. The fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. As they approached the blue planet, Admiral Kresh ordered communication channels opened. People of Earth, Kresh announced, his message translated and broadcast to all Earth frequencies. The galactic hegemony has determined that your continued neutrality is no longer acceptable. You will join our righteous struggle against the Nexus Alliance and contribute your resources and manpower to our cause. Compliance will be rewarded. Resistance will be met with demonstrative force. The reply came swiftly, from a unified Earth government channel. The human spokesperson appeared calm, almost resigned. Galactic hegemony, we have already declined your previous offer. Earth remains neutral in your conflict. We will defend our sovereignty if challenged. Admiral Kresh laughed. Commence demonstration strike. Target their largest military installation. Minimal casualties, maximum impact. Thrax watched in growing dread as the order was carried out. The Invincible Dominion's main cannon powered up, targeting a military base in a region humans called Nevada. As the energy beam lanced toward Earth, Thrax could only hope he was wrong about humanity's response. He wasn't. The consequences: the energy beam from the Invincible Dominion never reached its target. Instead, it struck what appeared to be an energy shield that flared into visibility upon impact. The bridge of the Hegemony flagship fell silent as the impossible scene registered on their sensors. Shield technology. Admiral Kresh whispered in disbelief. They shouldn't have shield technology. General Thrax felt no satisfaction in being proven correct so quickly. It appears our intelligence was incomplete. Admiral. Before Kresh could respond, the tactical officer called out in alarm. Multiple launches detected from Earth's surface and orbital positions. Sensors indicate. Admiral, they're not showing up properly on our scanning systems. Thrax moved to the tactical station, examining the readings himself. The human counterattack consisted of what appeared to be crude missiles, but they were emanating unusual energy signatures that confused the hegemony's advanced targeting systems. They're using our sensor technology against us, Thrax realized aloud. These are primitive kinetic weapons wrapped in sensor-deflecting materials we provided them during first contact as a gesture of goodwill. Admiral Kresh's exoskeleton paled. Divert power to shields. Launch interceptors. The human missiles split apart mid-flight, each one becoming dozens of smaller projectiles. The hegemony interceptors managed to destroy some, but many more slipped through, striking several support vessels with shocking precision. 3 ships reporting critical damage. The tactical officer announced. They targeted our communication arrays and propulsion systems specifically. Thrax nodded grimly. They studied our ship designs from the cultural exchange materials. They know exactly where to hit us. The next hours unfolded in a chaotic dance that the hegemony fleet was unprepared for. Earth's forces emerged from hidden bases on their moon and from orbital platforms that had been disguised as space debris. What they lacked in advanced technology, they compensated for with surprising tactics and sheer volume of attacks. They're using their own satellites as kinetic weapons, Thrax observed as another hegemony vessel reported damage. Deorbiting them directly into our path. Admiral Kresh, his earlier confidence evaporated, turned to Thrax. How are they coordinating these attacks? We've jammed their communications. We've jammed the communications we know about, Thrax corrected. They must have developed alternatives, perhaps hardened lines, or methods we haven't considered. As the battle continued, Earth unveiled more surprises. Automated drones swarmed hegemony ships. Primitive nuclear devices modified with technology reverse-engineered from hegemony waste systems created localized EMP bursts that disabled ship after ship. By the 3rd day, Admiral Kresh was forced to order a retreat to the edge of the solar system to regroup. Of the original fleet, 30% was either destroyed or disabled. The remainder had sustained varying degrees of damage. This is unprecedented, Kresh admitted as the War Council gathered on the Invincible Dominion. We've underestimated them severely. General Thrax spread his hands in a gesture of resignation. They have done exactly what their history suggested they would do. Faced with a superior force, they adapted our own technology against us and employed asymmetric warfare. But how did they prepare so thoroughly? Demanded the fleet's intelligence director. They shouldn't have had time. They'd been preparing since our first contact, Thrax explained. The moment they realized advanced spacefaring civilizations existed, they began planning for the possibility of conflict. It's ingrained in their psychology. Hope for peace, prepare for war. Admiral Kresh pounded a limb on the table. We will bring in the Second Fleet. We will blockade their planet and bombard them from a distance they cannot reach. That would be unwise, Thrax cautioned. Before Kresh could respond, the ship's emergency alarms activated. The tactical display showed multiple human vessels emerging from hyperspace, directly behind the hegemony fleet. Impossible, Kresh bellowed. They don't have hyperspace technology. They didn't, Thrax corrected. But several of our ships were captured relatively intact. It appears they've adapted the technology with remarkable speed. The human ships were crude compared to hegemony vessels, clearly retrofitted conventional spacecraft with hastily integrated alien technology. But their appearance here, on the offensive, changed the nature of the conflict entirely. A communication request came through, and against Kresh's objections, Thrax authorized it to be answered. A human appeared on screen, dressed in what appeared to be their military attire. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your unprovoked attack on our planet constitutes an act of war. We are prepared to continue this conflict until your forces withdraw completely from our solar system. Before Kresh could respond with threats, Thrax stepped forward. Admiral Chen, I am General Thrax of the Hegemony. May I speak candidly? The human's expression remained impassive. Proceed. You have demonstrated remarkable capability and resolve. The Hegemony underestimated humanity, a mistake we have rarely made in 8,000 years of existence. I propose an immediate cessation of hostilities and genuine diplomatic negotiations. Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed. You fired first, General. A regrettable error in judgment. Thrax acknowledged. One I personally advised against. Chen seemed to consider this. We are willing to discuss terms, but only after your fleet withdraws beyond Neptune's orbit. Kresh sputtered in outrage, but Thrax raised all four hands to silence him. Agreed. We will withdraw immediately. After the communication ended, Kresh rounded on Thrax. You have exceeded your authority. The Supreme Commander will have your head for this capitulation. The Supreme Commander will thank me for preventing the destruction of a third of the Hegemony's naval power. Thrax replied calmly. Look at our tactical situation objectively, Admiral. The humans have adapted our technology, studied our weaknesses, and demonstrated both the will and capability to fight. If we escalate, they will commit fully to the conflict. They are one primitive world. We are 1,000 systems. 1,000 systems already strained by the war with the Nexus Alliance, Thrax reminded him, and now facing a species that turns its opponent's strength against them. Every technology we deploy against humans will be studied, reverse-engineered, and improved upon. They learn from failure in ways our species cannot comprehend. Reluctantly, Kresh ordered the withdrawal. As the damaged fleet limped beyond Neptune's orbit, General Thrax prepared for the diplomatic meeting that would follow. He reviewed the data from the brief but costly conflict, adding it to his extensive research on human history and psychology. 3 days later, aboard a neutral station hastily constructed between the opposing forces, Thrax met with the human delegation. Admiral Chen was accompanied by representatives from Earth's major powers. You studied us, Chen said without preamble as they sat across from each other. Before all this happened, that's why you urged caution, isn't it? Thrax's primary eyes blinked in surprise. You were monitoring our communications. A slight smile crossed Chen's face. We've been monitoring everything since your first ships entered our system 3 years ago. Your encryption is impressive, but not infallible. I did study your species, Thrax admitted. Your history, your conflicts, your remarkable ability to adapt and overcome. I urged the Hegemony to approach Earth with respect rather than imperialism. And they didn't listen, Chen observed. The Hegemony has existed for 8 millennia, Thrax explained. Success breeds certainty, and certainty breeds vulnerability. Chen nodded. We've noticed. Your technology is advanced, but stagnant. You haven't innovated significantly in what we estimate to be 1,500 years. You rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility. While humanity, Thrax responded, innovates constantly, adapts continuously, and prepares relentlessly. It's how we survived on a planet that tried to kill us countless times before we developed technology, one of the other human representatives added. The negotiations continued for several days. In the end, a treaty was established that recognized Earth's sovereignty and established a neutral zone around the solar system. In exchange, humanity would provide the hegemony with certain technological innovations, not weapons, but medical and efficiency improvements that the hegemony's stagnant research divisions had overlooked. When Thrax returned to the hegemony's capital world, he expected censure or even execution for his role in the embarrassing defeat. Instead, he found Supreme Commander Dorvan more contemplative than angry. Your report on the humans was most illuminating, General, Dorvan said as they stood in his private chambers, particularly the addendum you submitted after the conflict. Qualities the humans possess in abundance. Dorvan turned to face Thrax directly. The Council has created a new position, General. Director of Innovation and Adaptation. You will study not only humanity but all species within and beyond our borders. You will help us learn from them, adapt as they do. Thrax bowed deeply. I am honored, Supreme Commander. As he left Dorvan's chambers, Thrax reflected on humanity's future in the galaxy. They had entered the interstellar community through fire and blood, but emerged neither conquered nor conquerors. Their unique perspective would change the hegemony, and the hegemony would never again make the mistake of underestimating a species based on their apparent technological development. Some lessons came at great cost. The wisdom was in ensuring those lessons need not be repeated. On Earth, Admiral Helena Chen stood at a window overlooking the newly established Interstellar Defense Academy. Cadets from across Earth trained below, incorporating both human tactical doctrine and captured hegemony technology. Earth remained neutral in the wider galactic conflict, but it would never again be unprepared. Admiral, her aide said from behind her, General Thrax's diplomatic vessel has entered orbit. He's requesting permission to visit the Academy. Chen smiled slightly. Permission granted. I think we have much to learn from each other. As humanity took its place among the stars, it did so on its own terms, respected not for overwhelming power, but for the qualities that had allowed it to survive and thrive against all odds. Adaptability, ingenuity, and the unwavering determination to forge its own path in the universe. The alien general had known the truth from the beginning. Messing with humans would doom them. Now the entire galaxy knew it too.